This meeting is being recorded.
Hi, welcome to Shaky Sports Journeys. Cracking chat podcast ahead for you today. Another World Cup, T20 World Cup diary. And today, on the eve of a big fixture, a big tasty fixture, mouth-watering fixture between the Scots and the Irish tomorrow, I thought I'll go and dig out some cracking guests. Who better than ex-Scotland captain George Salmond and legendary off-spinner for Ireland, Kyle Mccallan. How are we, gentlemen?
Good, Shaky. Good, thank you.
Yeah, really well, Kaz. Thank you very much for the invitation.
Like, don't stop. Now, before we came on here, there was a lot of banter flowing around. So this doesn't mean now that you get your corporate hats on and you go all corporate. I mean, you were saying to Kyle that you thought he was going to come all greened up. You had the Scotland top out a second ago. It was getting quite fiery here.
Yeah, well, we've got game heads on now, you see. Don't speak to the Oppo.
I actually have
Kyle,
that.
You carried on, obviously. When I stopped in 2001, you carried on and I don't know, played about another 200 games for Ireland. And sort of congratulations on all that you achieved. Phenomenal. And MBE quite rightly marking what you've done. But here we go again, another big Ireland-Scotland encounter.
Yeah, George, and I think back to '97 when the ICC trophy, when you boys beat us in the third, fourth playoff for that one illustrious spot for the World Cup. I didn't play a single game in that tournament. I was the water boy for the entire trip, and that always stayed with me a wee bit. Those were the days when really Ireland struggled to get over the line against you boys. So I played for long enough, and then we went through a wee spell where we beat Scotland quite regularly. And I'm a wee bit chasing perhaps in T20, certainly the worm was turned back the other way again.
Yeah, if you think about up to when you played that final, was it at Clontarf?
That's right. Yep.
Scotland were pretty. I would say up until that point, Scotland were pretty dominant, and then beyond there, Irish cricket just took off. And I mean, some of the victories you went on to have in the World Cup. I mean, we're envious as Scottish cricket fans. We haven't quite topped that, although we're slowly catching up. Couple of good recent wins. Have you watched the couple of opening fixtures?
I've seen the highlights. It's brilliant. For me, what's really, really pleasing, I still have the associate hat on. I know Ireland have been elevated to full member status, for want of a better phrase, but I still very much have my associate hat on. And it's just brilliant to see Namibia and Scotland beating two of the previous winners of the T20 World Cup. I think the gap, particularly at T20 cricket, has got so small that on any given day, there's no such thing as minnows. It used to annoy me when I heard us referred to as minnows. And it used to be a big source of motivation for us. We wanted to go out and give these guys a bloody nose. And in many ways, you had nothing to lose. And all the pressure was on the big teams. And, when I see how Scotland go about their business, they're well coached. They're a highly motivated side. They're an excellent side, an excellent outfit. And they did a real number on a pretty strong West Indies side, truth be told. And then obviously Namibia have just beaten the Asia Cup champions in Sri Lanka. So I just think for the World Game, hopefully a very strong message is going back to Dubai and back to the ICC that they've got to grow the game. The game is not for the few. And unfortunately, I think in the echelons and the corridors in Dubai, there's almost a little bit of protectionism goes on there. We've got to expand the game. We've got to make it more global. And there's a huge opportunity. And the more of those results that we see, the better.
Yeah, I agree. Dodd, 99. Who would have thought it would have taken all these years? But we're finally seeing the fruits. And I mean, you must have been jumping around. You don't have time just now. So I'm assuming the alarm was set and you were up early to watch that game against the West Indies. What was your feelings watching it?
Yeah, I actually beat my alarm. I was pretty excited getting up. It was amazing. And as Kyle says, I don't know when results like the Namibian one and the Scottish one are going to stop being seen as shocks, because I don't actually think that the full member sides, the players themselves, regard these as easy fixtures or indeed shocks when it goes away. We've got top players, as the Irish do, that I can't believe aren't attracting more franchise interest as well. And I've got a funny feeling that one or two players will definitely be putting themselves in the shop window through this tournament, because You know, I know what the expectations are of the Scottish lads, and it'll be the same with Ireland. You know, they'll be wanting to get through this group stage and then make an impact as well. It's about qualifying.
Let's get into it then. Let's take out the elephant in the room then. I mean, we're going into this fixture. Scotland more confident than the Irish after coming off a tremendous victory. Ireland obviously fell short against Zimbabwe. But one thing is, in recent times, if you go off recent times in the big tournaments and the big occasions, the Irish have had Scotland's number. I just feel maybe like the pendulum is slightly starting to shift. Mr. Mccallan, what's your thoughts on the game tomorrow?
Yeah, it's going to be a massive game for Ireland. You know, if they don't win tomorrow, they're out. It's a massive game for Scotland, clearly, because they have a point to prove. From my side, what I would like to see is a smile on the Irish boys' faces. I think one of the big issues facing Irish cricket is the fact that since we've been elevated to full member status, we've now got a significant number of these players on, you know, they're earning good salaries, they're professionals, and the level of expectation has risen both at home and abroad. And I think that's a burden that they're carrying. They look like a side that are carrying that burden, that they're struggling with the pressure of that. I would like to see them let their guard down a little bit and start playing with a smile on their face. The one thing that we really did as an Irish side was, well, one, we were very, very tight-knit, but we enjoyed it. We relished the opportunity. I just watch these guys sometimes, and, you know, Ireland have really progressed in T20 over the last 12 months. You know, when you think about we've beaten Afghanistan in a home series, and Afghanistan are through to the main competition, they're a very talented side. For me, my concern is, yeah, the boys look burdened when they play. I don't see that bit of zest in them, and I would like them just to lower their shackles and to go out tomorrow and express themselves without fear of failure. I get the impression sometimes there's a bit of a fear that things might not go the way they're supposed to, as opposed to looking at it and, you know, flipping that round and say the opportunities here are immense. Let's go out and grab them.
I totally agree with you. When you look back at some of your amazing wins, I mean, England comes to mind, and India, beating Pakistan, you know, all these amazing wins that you had. You played. It was just like there was no fear. It was like we're here and we're taking you on, and we don't. And every wicket, you know, the passion. You know, you look back at Niall O'Brien and Mooners, you know, lifting each other up. Kevin O'Brien with a bleach blonde hair, and, you know, it was just all characters. It does. I agree with you. It has in recent times seems like I think they're maybe taking themselves a bit too serious now, rather than just enjoying it.
We went out with nothing to lose. That was our whole man. We have nothing to lose here. You know, whether we win or lose, I was back to school when the tournament was over. We had nothing to lose. These guys are actually playing every match, and we're still at a stage where there's not sufficient cricket. That they're fearful about. The contracts come around every 12 months. There's not enough multi-year contracts. You know, whether we're full member in title, certainly, but financially, we're still not getting the level of support that some of the other full members, even Zimbabwe, are getting. So the problem for the Irish players are everything has something riding on it. Now, ultimately, you could argue the same from a cricket Scotland point of view. But for me, you know, boys are playing, and if things don't go well, the fear: am I going to get a contract next year? Am I going to be in this job next year? There's a large degree of uncertainty there, and I do think they've got to go out tomorrow, nothing to lose, play with a smile, and give Scotland a run for their money, without a doubt.
Todd, probably you would say the opposite about the Scottish boys at the moment. I mean, you know, it's really refreshing to see. I mean, Mark Watt's out there with notes yesterday. We've all been trying to work out what he's got in those notes, but just stuff like that and the way they're playing, they've got a bit of swagger about them. They seem to be enjoying each other's success. Are you seeing that coming across on the screen back home?
Yeah, definitely. As it's an interesting perspective from Kyle there, because, you know, that would certainly be what I've seen as well, looking from the outside on the Irish boys. And, you know, time will tell. You know, caged tigers, they'll be, you know, having lost the first game, that might work in their favour. You know, they've got top players. You know, they don't lose that quality overnight. And I just hope that the Scottish guys go out with the same spirit, same self-belief they've got as well. That's one of the things over the years, I think, that has changed. I think back to when I was playing, you know, we would go into games against teams ranked above us in the world, and I can't speak for mates, but I know myself, it was a different feeling. And what I see with the guys now is they look the oppo in the eye, they get the chests puffed out, not in an arrogant way, but just in a confident way. Right, come on, we're going to show you our skills here on our day, as we had yesterday. We're as good as anybody.
Yeah, an area that I've been really impressed by, and it showed yesterday, is the fielding. Fielding has just been as good as I've seen Scottish fielding ever. They're taking their catches, taking those half chances, and it's great to see. A couple of players though that concern me as a Scottish fan is a certain Paul Stirling. He got a duck in the first game. Now this guy is up there as one of the best T20 opening batsmen in the world. Like, no questions asked. He's crucial for you tomorrow, Kyle, if you're going to have a chance in this game.
Yeah, without a doubt. And I think sometimes Paul has been burdened a little bit by the fact that there's a lot that rests on his shoulders. Harry Tector has come good over the last while. He's proven himself to be potentially a world-class player going forward. But Stirling needs a bit more help. The thing about T20, it just takes one of your players to click. And if Paul Stirling comes off tomorrow, Paul Stirling will win the game for Ireland. Just like if George Munsey comes off for Scotland, or Richie Barrington, or Michael Leask, they'll win the game for Scotland. And it's, really the key with this tournament and the format that we're in, you don't have a second chance. You've just got to go out there, grasp it with both hands. And, from an Irish point of view, we'll be hopeful that Paul Stirling comes off, because if he comes off, he'll win the game in a very short space of time. But likewise, Scotland will look, they have match winners themselves. Listen, it's an intriguing match. It's going to be a brilliant watch. Obviously, I'll have my green jersey on, and I'll be shouting for Ireland.
I'm going to take you back, Kyle. Paul Stirling, I think I read somewhere that he's the top 10 international run scorers in T20 cricket. Phenomenal player. And as I think you're absolutely right to highlight him, that experience is going to be crucial. He just reminds me a little bit of Decker Curry. not in terms of the way that he plays. I mean, Decker was left-handed as well, but going back to when I was captain in the Scotland team, used to worry that Decker would just have one of his days, because in the blink of an eye, he could take the game away from you. Thankfully, he didn't do it too often against us, but I saw him do it plenty of other times against other opponents. I just think Paul Stirling, that's a big wicket for Scotland to get tomorrow. But similarly, down that order, there are top players in that Ireland team that have done a good job for them. Balbirnie, McCarthy, Camford, Hector, they're all top players. But we've got good bowlers as well.
Yeah, that's the difference, I think, with the Scotland team. I mean, we've always had decent attacks. I think the spin attack that we have just now, collectively, you've got two or three guys that are able to tie the opposition. Now, Mark Watt's obviously leading the way. He's really shown what he's capable of on the world stage. You've obviously bowled in the world stage, Kyle, as a spinner. Do you think these guys are doing anything different from what it was like 10 years ago? Because to me, it looks like they bowl it a lot quicker now.
Yeah, and I suppose I'm always careful. It's a different game too. Batting has come on so much from back in my day. For me, what I really like about Mark Watt is that Andy White and I used to bowl in tandem with a very specific role for the Irish side, and we looked at our limitations as finger spinners. We had our orthodox off spinner, we had our top spinner, you had your arm ball, and then we looked at, well, what else could we couldn't bowl a doosra. So how do we then get one up on the batsman? So we would have, we bowled from behind the stumps like Mark Watt does. We paused in our delivery stride. We practiced double bouncers at one stage. We used to run up little things. I know it's gamesmanship, but we used to run up and just before we delivered the ball, apologise, dry our hands on the crease and then literally stand still. And as soon as the batsman looked up, we bowled it from the crease without a run up. We just looked at every way that we could maximise our, what little 1%ers, what opportunities we get just to squeeze in one dot ball. That was all we looked for. And one of the things, I think George Dockrell's underused for Ireland. Scotland have, you've got leg spin, you've got off spin, you've got slow left arm. Simi Singh's playing for Ireland. He bowls quite quick. I just think from an Irish spinner's point of view, Nathan Horrocks is working with the boys now. I just think at times we're a bit samey. I would like to see a little bit more nous, a little bit more variation in the use of the crease. We can't bowl all the variations, but for me, we could look to Mark Watt and see how he does it. And he's very, very, very effective at it.
Yeah, it's interesting to hear. Nice to hear in some ways, though. I see you smiling down there. We're getting lots of compliments. Our spin attack's nice and diverse. We've got a lot of different. But it's all going to come down to who's going to. Let's be honest. Doesn't matter. You can look at all the ins and all the outs. When they meet on the pitch tomorrow, it's going to come down to who can hold the nerve, who handles the occasion. Scotland have got a lot on the line as well. If they win, they qualify. So, that's an extra wee nerve there. Ireland are backs against the wall. They have to win. So it's got all the recipe for a cracking fixture. How much of there was a lot of talk about Balbirnie winning the toss and opting to put the opposition in. What was your thoughts on that, and how important is this toss tomorrow?
Yeah, it's hard from afar. You look on Twitter and they say about the late start in Hobart and the potential impact of the cold and the ball moving more in the evening. For me, you just got to look at the stats. Has any team won batting second? I know the Dutch just about got over the line today, but every team has won pretty much batting first. Is that right? Would that be fair enough? So for me, Heinrich and Balbo will have their plans in place. Ultimately, they felt 170 was a reasonable effort in the field, but you don't win games when you're 4 down for 30 in T20 cricket. That's game over there and then. So they'll be looking at the performance of the top order, and they'll have to put that right. For me, I always think in pressure games, runs on the board, make the team chase. I just get runs on the board and put the pressure on in the field, without a doubt. I don't know what you think, George.
Yeah, probably fixed mindset on this one. I've always thought that toss of the coin doesn't win you a game of cricket. The team that bats best, bowls best, feels best, usually comes out on top. And you can win the toss, you can lose the toss. You've got to be ready to do whatever you need to do. And good teams win, whether they win the toss or not. There'll be the occasional time where either conditions, the wicket does impact. I don't know that in a 20 over match the wicket's going to deteriorate that much better. So it's not meant to sound cocky. I think either team, win the toss, lose the toss. I don't think it really matters. Can I just go back? I was laughing. A couple of things that Kyle said. They practice double bouncers and then sort of stopping, wiping your hands, and then just bowling from the crease. Honestly, I still hate bowlers.
I thought the same thing when I was saying it. I was thinking bloody rascals.
You never try anything like that in Scotland. That's just dirty.
Well, I still remember there was a game that we played Kenya, and Andy White took it to an extreme always. But we just thought the advantage is so much in the batsman's favour. We had batters with this forward press. They were trying, their rhythm. We just wanted to disrupt. And in many ways, that's what we wanted to be seen as, disruptors in world cricket. And we looked at every which way under the sun. And we did. We practiced trying to get the ball to just land on its second bounce on a Yorker length. Because obviously, how do you hit it out of the park? We practiced all those things. I never had the courage to do it. But yeah, look, so maybe call me a scoundrel. We looked for marginal gains before Dave Brailsford made them famous. Eddie Burrell talked about 1%ers long before Team Sky, and we talked about leaving no stone unturned. And yeah, it worked, didn't it? It worked.
There's a lot of top cricketers that probably could get a game for Ireland if they could just affect that second bounce being on Yorker length.
Exactly.
For anyone listening tomorrow, and the Irish team, maybe that's the trick tomorrow. The second bounce. I hope it just doesn't sit up though on that second bounce and gets stomped out of the park for 6. Okay, chaps. So as we come to the end, let's get a prediction. No sitting on the fence. I'll come to you first, Dodd. What's your prediction for the game tomorrow, and who is going to be key important players for Scotland to see us over the line?
Yeah, well, no surprise that I'm going to back Scotland. Just from the point of view that, you know, they've got a buzz on. They've won that first game. They're playing with a smile on their face. I think two players that I'm going to pick out, one being Richie, the captain. We got a small taste of what he's about with the bat. You know, he had a cracking 6 out the park. I just think tomorrow's made for him. If he gets a shot, that is. And the other one, I really love the way that Mike goes about cricket. You know, what I spoke about earlier on, just having that buzz in the field. He's a full cricketer, bats, bowls, fields, but he's also got that little bit of zest that he brings to the team, where he gets the chest out. You know that he believes that he's going to win every time he's on the park, and he takes players with him as well. You can see that when you go and watch the team. I don't know that they need too much of an encouragement from him, but he certainly sets the standard when we're there. That said, tomorrow I think is a tougher game for Scotland than the West Indies. It may be easy to say. I think the Irish lads, you know, have got quality all the way down, but here's a great opportunity for Scotland to nail that place.
Kyle, predictions?
Well, you're not going to be surprised. I think Ireland will win by 6 wickets with a Paul Stirling 80 from 50 balls. Dark horse with George Dockrell, who's become a really class act with the bat, and potentially Mark Adair, who has the ability to change a game with bat and ball. It's going to be a very tough game. I just hope that the coin and Imran Khan phrase, you know, we've got to fight like cornered tigers, and I'm hoping that tomorrow and the circumstances allow that.
You're going to have to hope so that the corner tigers are in motion, because if they're not, then, you know, it'll be one more game and then the Irish will be coming back. But we don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves either. Got to stay humble, keep your feet on the ground, one game at a time. It's been a pleasure to chat with 2 ex-greats of the game in both Scotland and Ireland. I'll be certainly tuning in tomorrow. I'm also in your same camp as you, Dodd. I'm backing the boys to do it. But the man that Kyle just mentioned, I played the first time ever against Paul Stirling at Mccallan. Nobody knew who he was. 16 years old, turned up, put 2 balls through the Mccallan pavilion, hit 100, and it was like, who is this guy? Well, we know who he is now, and he's the one that I've got a feed of tomorrow. So I hope we see him dismissed early doors. Kyle will be hoping otherwise. But listen, appreciate it. Here's to a great game tomorrow. Maybe we can have a follow-up chat at some point. Hopefully the Irish and the Scots can qualify.
All the best, Kyle.